Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. You know, it's been about 3 years since I looked at Walt Disney's 1961 animated adaptation of Dottie Smith's 101 Dalmatians, and ever since my childhood, this movie remains as one of my childhood favorite animated classic films from Walt Disney's time, next to other films like Lady and the Tramp, Dumbo, Bambi, and several others. And as I said before, these dogs have gained a huge cult following by gaining an animated storybook CD-ROM game, 2 animated TV shows, a quest in Kingdom Hearts, and 2 live-action movies, one of which isn't really good due to it being a dog version of Home Alone, while its sequel was a very fun improvement. But during the early 2000s, Walt Disney Television Animation gave us a direct-to-video animated sequel starring the lovable Dalmatians. And with Cruella's new movie getting released this weekend, today might be the best time to look at said sequel. So let's get started. Released a video and DVD on January 21st, 2003, the movie is 101 Dalmatians 2 Patch's London Adventure. Now, let's get started. Set about 1 year after the 1961 film, Roger, Anita, and their canine clan are packing for the big move to their Dalmatian plantation, a home in the country with plenty of room for the 101 Dalmatian puppies and far from the clutches of Cruella de Vil. The feisty puppy, Patch, feels lost in a sea of spots, and he longs to be a one-of-a-kind wonder dog like his TV hero, Thunderbolt. While watching the Thunderbolt Adventure Hour, Patch hears about a chance to appear on the show while it's being filmed in London. The following morning, after Patch is accidentally left behind, he heads for the audition and meets his hero. However, Thunderbolt's trusty sidekick Lightning reveals that the producers of the show want to replace Thunderbolt with a younger dog. In order to save his job, Thunderbolt decides to go out into the real world and perform an act of true heroism in order to prove himself, with Patch as his guide and junior deputy. Meanwhile, Cruella de Vil is planning to get back at Roger, Anita, and the Dalmatians, and since Patch is still in London, it gives her the perfect plan to get the rest of the puppies too. And with a new partner along for the ride, she'll be twice as hard to beat. So, my thoughts? Well, to me, this movie was a lot of fun. And yes, I enjoyed this movie. But to further explain why, let's move on to Mustang Notes. Now, you may find this hard to believe, but this movie garnered DVD-X, or DVD Exclusive Awards, for Best Animated Feature, Best Director, Best Editing, and Best Musical Score, which seems very impressive in my eyes. As for the animation, well, I found it very interesting that most of the animation was done in Japan, and to me, I think the animators did great at staying true to the style of the 1961 film, especially with the opening credits sequence, which is really cute in my opinion. Also, I like that this movie mostly takes place in London, which brings back memories of when me and my family got to visit this famous city back in summer 2010. Plus, I think the Radcliffe's new home at Cherry Tree Farm looks like a fine place to raise 99 puppies. Also, there are a few funny moments, like when Patch and Thunderbolt do several attempts at doing a real act of heroism, like rescuing a cat from a tree, stopping a runaway wagon, and stopping a bank robber. And there's also some nostalgic moments, like when we hear Roger singing Cruella de Vil on the radio, and when the imprisoned puppies use the Twilight bark to send a distress signal. Oh, and speaking of which, during that scene, we get a Mary Poppins Easter egg in the form of this man walking 2 Great Danes, due to him bearing a similar resemblance to one of the band players during the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious song. Another thing that I like about this movie is, unlike several direct-to-video Disney sequels that essentially retell the original film's story, this movie takes characters from the original film in some new directions. However, I think this movie was a bit influenced by an episode called Watch for Falling Idols, which was where Lucky learned that Thunderbolt is just an actor on a TV show. However, my favorite moment is when Patch and his siblings drive a double-decker bus in order to escape from Cruella. And this was between the times when we saw toys and fish driving a car. And now let's move on to the characters and the voice actors who brought him to life. Our main character, Patch, is voiced by a young Bobby Lockwood, marking this as his first film role. In my eyes, I think Bobby Lockwood did pretty good for his first voice role, portraying a small Dalmatian puppy who feels left out oftentimes, and he longs for a chance to become separate and leave the shadow of his siblings. Also, I think Patch is very adventurous, bold, humble, and strong-minded, and I like that he remembers almost every single Thunderbolt episode by heart, almost like every single fanboy who loves watching a certain TV show. Plus, I thought Patch was very clever while tricking Cruella into going downstairs while the puppies escaped through the warehouse roof using a painting canvas as a trampoline. Next we come to the one-of-a-kind wonder dog, Thunderbolt, voiced by Barry Bostwick, who got to be in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, along with Nancy Drew from 2007, the Hannah Montana movie, The Incredibles 2, and The Land Before Time 14, Journey of the Brave. In my eyes, Thunderbolt is the best character in the movie, even though he is an actor, and there are times when he can be a bit self-centered, but despite that, I think Thunderbolt is a great father figure to Patch, and I think they share a nice bond together while spending time in London. Plus, I think Thunderbolt is a strong, brave, and faithful dog. Next we come to Patch's parents, Pongo and Perdita, voiced by Samuel West and Kat Susi. Now, despite the fact that we don't see them too much in this movie, I think Pongo is a loving family dog, but he can be distracted, like when he counts his children. And I think Perdita is a gentle, loving soul who only wants the best for her children. Plus, due to her motherly voice, I think Kat Susi does a sweet job voicing Purdy, just like when she voiced other Disney moms like Kanga and Wendy. Next we have the Dalmatians' human pets, Roger and Anita, voiced by Tim Bentinck and Jodie Benson. Like with Pongo and Perdita, they also don't have a big role in this movie. All I can say is that Roger's new song, Seeing Spots, is very inspirational, creative, and cute. Plus, at the end of the movie, Roger received a gold award due to his song hitting the top spot. Plus, I think Jodie Benson does a lovely performance as Anita, especially when she sings Dalmatian Plantation. And I'm glad that me and Jodie got to have a 2-minute video chat last year. Next we come to the evil Cruella de Vil, voiced by Suzanne Blakesley, best known as Wanda from the Fairly Odd Parents, and she's the current voice of Lady Tremaine in the Cinderella sequels. Plus, she voices my childhood nightmare, Maleficent, in the Kingdom Hearts games. To me, Cruella deserves her place as one of Disney's meanest, nastiest, and most outrageous villains ever. However, in this movie, Cruella is now under a restraining order due to her past history of crimes in the first movie. To help cure her obsession for fur, she meets an artist named Lars and has him do a Dalmatian masterpiece for her, but thankfully, Lars refuses once Cruella reveals that she wants to use the Dalmatians' coats as canvases, which makes her revolt and go back to her original plan of making Dalmatian fur coats. In the end, Cruella is locked up in a mental hospital, and I just hope that she'll never get released. Next we come to Cruella's bumbling henchmen, Horace and Jasper, voiced by veteran voice actors Jeff Bennett and Maurice LaMarche. To me, these two Badham brothers haven't really changed too much since the first movie. In this film, after Cruella bails them from jail, she has them steal a canine crunchy truck in order to kidnap the other 98 puppies. Plus, I think it was pretty silly when Jasper dresses up like a woman, and I thought it was very devious when they put Nanny inside a well. But at the end of the movie, the Badhams open a boutique shop, which to me is kind of redeeming for them, and I think this is a nice step in order for them to give up their lives of crime. Another antagonist in this movie is Thunderbolt's sidekick, Little Lightning, voiced by Jason Alexander, whom I talked about in my blogs of The Return of Jafar, the Hunchback of Notre Dame movies, Madeline Lost in Paris, and The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Now, Lightning is a corgi who became very angry at always crawling in Thunderbolt's shadow and putting up with his arrogance and rejection. So, in order to get Thunderbolt out of the way, Lightning tricks him into running away and plots to manipulate the director into rewriting the show and make Lightning into a TV star. Later, when Thunderbolt and Patch attempt to rescue the puppies, Lightning reveals himself to be a traitor and has the two dogs locked away in a cage. Next we come to Lars, a stylish but eccentric French artist voiced by Martin Short. In my eyes, while he did at first have romantic feelings for Cruella due to her feeling astounded by his art, I think Lars's spot paintings are very expressive and creative. Also, I was impressed when Lars rebelled against Cruella when he realized her true colors. Also, I thought it was cute that one of his paintings was a Lucky Mickey emblem. As for the other puppies, we have Ben Tibber as Lucky, Tara Strong as Two-Tone, Eli Russell Lynette as Rolly, Kasia Kropinski as Penny, and Catherine Bermont as Crystal. By the way, this was Catherine Bermont's first movie in 50 years after voicing Wendy in Peter Pan, and it was also her final role before her retirement from acting until she voiced Kyrie's grandmother in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, 101 Dalmatians 2 Patch's London Adventure was a fun Disney sequel. The animation stays true to the original 1961 animated classic. Same goes for the music by Richard Gibbs. Patch was a brave and daring main character, and Thunderbolt was absolutely awesome, even though he was in reality a TV actor. Cruella is still a classical Disney villain. Lars was a creative and expressive artist, and the other puppies are just so adorable to look at. Also, while the story may have been inspired by an episode from the animated series, it does surprise us with lots of charm, humor, and comedy. So, if you folks love the original 1961 film, then I highly recommend you folks to watch this movie and share it with your children, family, and friends. And in case you're wondering, yes, I will blog Cruella's new movie, but that'll have to wait until the proper time. Maybe during Nightmare Month in October. Anyway, I give this sequel a 99% out of 100. Well, folks, that's all for now. Be sure to join me next time, because I think it's time to reunite with the beloved cartoon cat and mouse duo, Mustang Power.